It's important to place people first. And global governance and multilateralism are only going to serve their objectives if they are people-centered and driven by aspirations and needs of everyone on this planet. And the Indian G20 presidency, over the last 10 months, assiduously put together this ethic in each of its propositions. In fact, in one of my writings, I have been a little cheeky and suggested that post-Pittsburgh in 2009, where it was all about saving the banks and the financial system, for the first time we are now talking about saving people and the planet. So it's no longer the bankers G20, it's the people's G20, and I think that's one consequential change. And this conversation that we are hosting has to be seen in that light. The second Indian proposition, of course, was that it can only be a people's G20 if the issues we discuss relate to people, are relatable to people. So I love the word macroeconomics and fiduciary responsibility and adequacy ratios. I read those before I go to sleep, but they don't excite me necessarily. Truly, my soul. There are more essential issues: food on the table, the cost of energy, education, health, roads, connectivity, infrastructure, trade, livelihoods, incomes, right? So issues have to also become more relevant and relatable to people if you really want to make it a multilateralism for the planet, for the people, for the last human being that needs service from all of us. And third, if this is the agenda and this is the moment to reset multilateralism, then the actors in the room have to also reflect current realities. They must reflect those who they profess to serve and the views and perspectives from people who have not been heard till now, who have been invisibilized by the bureaucracies of global governance. Countries have done it at home, but collectively we have done outstandingly well in the international institutions of distancing our work from these new voices, new actors, new geographies that are rising. So the word Global South was a big feature of the Indian presidency, and of course there's a sovereign and geographical connotation. There are countries of the South, but I truly believe Global South exists everywhere. A few kilometers from here, you have folks in existential conditions no different to many other parts of the world. And Global South in many ways today reflects a new urge and a new determination by a new set of actors to carve the rules for the world. And I say this because today what we really want to do as we discuss examples from India, the determination of women to change the world, and start thinking about the post-2030 world, I think there is also a responsibility on the Global South today to no longer be free riders or acceptors of rules written by others, but to actually be scripting them by themselves in partnership with actors who have been through this journey before, but also with those who are going to be increasingly influential in the days ahead. So I think today we really want to look at a vision for the future, certainly a vision beyond 2030. Can we in this room and can others join us and start thinking about the template for the post-SDG world? What will be the successor? What will be the issues that we will discuss? Who will be the actors? Is nation state the most important template for that partnership, or are we going to see non-state actors become increasingly official, and do they need to have a seat on the table? Do they need to be responsible and be accountable? And it's no longer about doing good, it's about doing good responsibly. And can we start thinking about some of those issues as well? And of course, half the planet, women have to be at the forefront of doing that, and that's the second agenda item for today. So without further ado, let's begin the day. Since now we have clocked 10:30, I have used the mic well for the last 4 minutes. Let me invite Mr. Jagannatha Kumar, CEO of Reliance Foundation India, to deliver welcome remarks. Mr. Jagannatha Kumar.
Thanks, Samir, for setting the context of our meeting here. And very warm good morning and welcome to all of you. This is the second convening of ours. We had the first convening last year, and today's theme is about delivering development, directions, pathways, journeys, and lighthouses as we convene during this UNGA review or midterm review of SDGs in 2023. India is going through remarkable economic and technological growth. Actually, a lot of growth has also been led by the technological innovations that India has been pioneering over the last several years. Its development journey and innovative bottom-up approaches to achieving the SDGs offer exemplary models that can be replicated in other countries. India has successfully combined the grassroots approaches that Samir was referring to in terms of people engagement with the use of technology for development. India's widespread use of digital public infrastructure is enabling accelerated development outcomes, reaching all corners of the country. Today, over 99% of Indian adults, actually Indian population, I must say, have an Aadhaar digital ID, allowing them to seamlessly access and benefit from public services. India operates world's largest financial inclusion scheme, opening over 460 million new bank accounts based on digital identity, and has made strides towards closing the gender gap in finance. Moreover, India leads the global digital payment space, with recent data showing that over 40% of world's real-time payments take place through the UPI, Unified Payment Interface. September is a key moment, bringing together the culmination of India's G20 presidency that Samir referred to and the UN's SDG midpoint review. The G20 declaration aptly recommends and recommits to achieving SDGs as it saw setback for various global crises, on account of various global crises in the recent years. While the UNGA retrospects on the progress till date and offers guidance on acceleration in achieving the goals, it is important for this gathering today not just to reflect on the pathways to get there, but also to think beyond 2030. One of the things which we need to reflect on closely is not just about how do we accelerate to get to achieving these SDGs, probably new pathways even to reset some of the ways we are trying to achieve the SDGs. India's Niti Aayog released the third edition of SDG India Index dashboard covering all 17 SDGs in 2021, where it highlights that the SDGs can only be fully realized through robust and diverse partnerships with different stakeholders and by triggering new and powerful accelerators of progress, which is what we need to be deliberating as we discuss the pathway to achieving 2030 agenda. In this context, Lighthouse projects featured in the book that is in front of you, we have brought here, which is published jointly between ORF, Reliance Foundation and UN India, which highlights the success stories, most of which are actually coming through grassroots innovations. These are not driven by top-down approach, these are through grassroots innovations by the communities and local organizations. While we see a lot of this progress in India and in some of the other parts of the country, but there is still a long way to go. Much of the progress, including India, has been hampered by various economic, geopolitical, and health issues. Effects of climate change are at its worst, with heat waves, droughts, floods, and wildfires becoming far too frequent. The rate of sea level rise has doubled in the last decade, threatening hundreds of millions of people in coastal communities. Between 2017 and 2021, the funding available per person to address food crisis fell by 30%. The world is not on track to achieve gender equality by 2030 by any stretch of imagination. At the current rate, it will take 140 years to achieve equal representation in the leadership in workplace. Further, the world continues to grapple with lingering effects of COVID-19. In order to address these gaps and challenges, the narrative needs to evolve from here. We need to move on from a segmented approach to a more holistic one in achieving the development targets, an approach that considers the complex interactions between the SDGs and the development challenges themselves. For instance, we cannot eradicate poverty without eliminating hunger or improving basic health of the communities. Conversely, poverty is also a cause of hunger and the lack of basic health. There are several examples like this where there are complex interactions between the SDGs, and we need to look at them all on holistic basis. As we think of development pathways that go beyond 2030, we hope to explore and deliberate on how the community can take a collaborative approach that meets the needs of today's intertwined challenges. We need to take innovative and inclusive approaches to these challenges, which is enabled by science and technology. For instance, a report by the World Meteorological Organization called United in Science shows how sciences can supercharge progress on the SDGs through groundbreaking scientific and technological advances such as high-resolution climate modeling, artificial intelligence, and nowcasting. In fact, I am happy and proud to say that we are implementing some of these solutions as we work on resilience in the communities on account of disasters. As for inclusive approaches, our second panel on She Leads will deliberate on how we can ensure women-led development and how that is at the core of every innovation and every decision-making process we undertake from here on. We need to work together to navigate through current challenges as well as anticipate new ones to ensure resilient development and growth that focuses on holistic well-being of citizens. We need to reimagine the development agenda with a global commons approach and not on a fragmented basis. Today, through these three panels, we hope to not only evaluate our progress, we also hope to deliberate on a more inclusive approach to development and strategize our way forward from 2030. Thank you, and we look forward to exciting deliberations here.
Shombi, may I invite you now to speak to us? Our partner, Shombi Sharp, who's the resident coordinator of the UN in New Delhi. Shombi, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Namaste, Excellency Ambassador Shir Kamboj, Sri Jagannatha Kumar, a good colleague at Reliance Foundation, Samir Saran, great friend and partner of the United Nations. It's a wonderful honor and privilege to be here on behalf of the United Nations in India. Mujhe har bar permanent mission of India mein aakar bahut khushi hui. It's always a pleasure to be here at the mission of India. And I would like to congratulate and thank the colleagues, ORF and Reliance Foundation, for organizing this event and for delivering this fantastic volume, Ideas, Innovation, Implementation. And we in the UN in India have been honored to be a part of this process, a partner. I would say probably the best part of my job is that I get to travel around the country in India, which, as we know, feels more like a continent. And everywhere I go, I get out to the states, to the villages, the communities, and get to see firsthand and interact firsthand with exactly these inspiring stories that you will read about and hear about. So I think, dear friends, this is an important week, a milestone week, as has been mentioned. It's the midway stock taking to 2030. And just a few blocks from here, this week has been filled with a lot of, frankly, depressing news. Everywhere we look, it's crisis, it's war, it's poverty, it's the inability of the world to come together and to put the money behind the words. And all of this against the backdrop of the triple planetary crisis: biodiversity loss, pollution, climate change. But I would say that there are two very important reasons to be optimistic. And this is exactly where the SDGs and India and partnership with all of you in the room come together. So the first message is that we know what to do. The SDGs remain our best blueprint, together with the Paris commitments for 1.5, keeping that alive. Secondly, we have a new engine in the room, and that is India, increasingly showing robust leadership on how to achieve the SDGs. That's across so many areas. Poverty reduction, we've seen 135 million people lifted out of multidimensional poverty in just the last 5 years. Digital transitions, I don't think you see digital leapfrogging in a country as you see in India. We've just heard 40% of the world's financial digital transactions are made in India, leading towards incredible progress in financial inclusion, especially in rural areas and for women. We see women-led development. And here I would pause to congratulate India on legislation just passed to ensure robust women's representation in parliament, true element of Nari Shakti, of women-led development. And we estimate that with the greatest youth generation in history, 1/6 of humanity, that literally 1/3 to upwards of 1/2 of the SDG targets will need to be met in India. As the Secretary General said in his recent visit, India is the country that can make the SDGs a reality. And increasingly, India is having an important impact on the rest of the SDG targets outside of India. And this is where leadership, as a strong voice for the Global South, as Samir was mentioning, changing the nature of the conversation at the top tables. This is where South-South cooperation is coming increasingly into play with Indian leadership. And as was mentioned, the shining example that we're still basking in the glow from is the Indian G20 presidency and the consensus New Delhi declaration, bringing much needed important momentum across a range of critical issues, from climate change, climate action, to gender equality, to reforming these multilateral institutions and the international financial architecture that were designed in the aftermath of the Second World War to be fit for the new reality, the new world order, and to look to see how we can achieve 2030. We have now only the second half left, and how can we look beyond as well? So let me say I look very much forward to today. The panels are incredible. We have so many fantastic speakers, so much knowledge in this room, and so much opportunity for partnerships. I say, Aaj ki charcha achi rahe. Bahut dhanyavad. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce one of India's finest diplomats who needs no introduction, someone who has added something very special to our work at the UN, which is her intense care for issues that matter to most. And she has brought that in her conduct of her responsibilities at the UN, her determination to include so many new voices in the fora that she curates and incubates is remarkable. I have attended a few, and it's been a privilege to work with you, ma'am, on a few occasions, and we hope we can make PMI our home to do lots more together. So without further ado, let me invite you, ma'am, please. Thank you.
Samir, Shombi, Mr. Jagannatha, Kumar, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and not to forget the PR of Antigua and Barbuda, our good friend. Thank you very much for being here. Well, first of all, the warmest welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here in such good numbers. Trust me, it means a lot to us to have all of you amidst us today. And we've been talking about the SDGs. You know, this is the halfway point. It is a pivotal moment. And indeed, it is all of that, all hands on deck. Now, as many of the speakers before me have said, the SDG Progress Report shows that just 12% of the SDGs are on track. Progress on 50% is weak and insufficient. And worst of all, the world has stalled or gone into reverse on more than 30% of the SDGs. And it is important to remember that SDG progress is not about lines on a graph. It is about healthy mothers and babies, children learning the skills to fulfill their potential, parents who can feed their families. It is about renewable energy and clean air. And it is about a world in which everyone enjoys human rights and human dignity. The road ahead is steep, but it is one we can and must travel together for the people we serve. Now let me turn to India. Well, I would say that India's journey towards the SDGs serves as an inspiring example of determination and ingenuity. Let's take SDG 1. Now, India's performance on SDG 1 is a testament, a true testament to its resolve. While the number of people living in extreme poverty today is higher than it was 4 years ago, and this is indeed very unfortunate, and on current trends, only 30% of all countries will achieve SDG 1 of no poverty by 2030. India has remained committed to the cause. We are on track. We are on track to reduce multi-dimensional poverty by at least half, much ahead of 2030. India is among the 25 countries that halved their multidimensional poverty within 15 years. A noteworthy 415 million people have escaped poverty in India. So how about that? And if you ask me, I would say that India's success can be attributed to its model of localization. With the introduction of national indices, we are not merely tracking progress, we are identifying the gaps, ensuring that no one is left behind. Home to almost 1/6 of humanity and some of the world's most ambitious developmental and social inclusion programs, and the speakers before me have highlighted some of those, India's model can provide essential perspective on SDG localization. For instance, and I'll give you 2 examples, I think I'm not saying something new, speakers before me have said so, but nevertheless this bears repetition. India opened over 450 zero balance bank accounts, with Aadhaar reducing the cost of conducting the Know Your Customer from $12, and I will repeat that, let me repeat that, from $12 to a mere 6 cents. And this extended banking ability to millions of Indians, facilitating financial freedom. So that was one example. My second example, digital public infrastructure. Well, this is another example of exceptional leadership. Now, according to industry estimates, banks' costs of onboarding customers in India decreased from US dollars 23% to a mere 10 cents with the use of DPI. The IMF has lauded India's journey in developing world-class digital public infrastructure and its powerful lessons for other countries embarking on their own digital transformation. And I will say, ladies and gentlemen, that these achievements are not mere statistics. They signify tangible improvements in the lives of our citizens, ensuring financial inclusion, access to clean energy, education, and preserving their dignity. Now, let's fast forward to the G20 Leaders Summit in New Delhi, September 2023, under India's leadership. And no 2 ways about this, the summit was a remarkable success. Now, the summit put SDGs front and center, underscoring the urgency in this decade of action. This landmark event marked a turning point where global leaders recognized the urgency of our mission and committed to accelerating implementation under the G20 2023 Action Plan. Now, the action plan will achieve transformative impact on achieving the SDGs, including digital transformation, gender equality and empowerment of women, and implementing sustainable, inclusive, and just transitions globally. So as we navigate the challenging path ahead, and it can seem very difficult at moments, let us draw strength from the commitment made at the G20 Leaders Summit in September 2023. It is there that our collective resolve was reaffirmed, and it is there that our dedication to accelerating SDG implementation was made crystal clear. So together we have the unique opportunity to shape a brighter future where energy transitions uplift livelihoods and enhance economic resilience. And we refuse to make a choice, and I will repeat that. We refuse to make a choice between fighting poverty and protecting our planet. Instead, we will pursue sustainable, inclusive, and equitable transitions that leave no one behind. So therefore, in a spirit of fostering transparency and sharing best practices, I'm indeed delighted that we have just released a comprehensive report titled Ideas, Innovation, Implementation, India's Journey Towards the SDGs. This report highlights 17 Indian lighthouse case studies undertaken by non-profit organizations and communities, all working tirelessly to advance the Sustainable Development Goals across a spectrum of areas, truly localizing the SDGs in India. And for this, I will extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Observer Research Foundation, the Reliance Foundation, and the United Nations Office, India Office, for this remarkable and inspirational achievement. This truly stands out as a fantastic oeuvre. Congratulations, Samir, congratulations, Shombi, and congratulations, Mr. Kumar. Thank you.